Hello, my name is Anam Zulfikar and my student ID is 249356110. And today my topic of presentation is the evidence-based classroom management strategies for a diverse Year 7 English class. Moving towards the first slide of introduction. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present my lesson. This presentation will be about a Year 7 English lesson in a persuasive writing unit. Students will be taught persuasive strategies used by advertisers to sway audiences. I have drafted a lesson for the EAR learner Amara, the other EAR learners Zara, Ethan, and Ryan. The lesson encourages pupils to behave in a way that the students expect them to: be kind, be brave, and be your best. These expectations contribute to a positive and sportive learning atmosphere. Effective classroom has been found to be more about providing a safe and sportive environment that enable students to learn well rather than just control their behaviors. The lesson also meets the Australian professional standards for teachers, which states that teachers should have knowledge of the diversity of students and support students appropriately. In addition, Center for Education Statistics and Evaluation have demonstrated the good behavior, high expectations, and explicit teaching fosters student engagement and attainment. My next slide will represent the context analysis, in which pupils in this class have a variety of learning behaviors and well-being needs. Amara has a special need for substantial adjustment as she needs accessible resources, physical access to the learning activities, and more time to complete them because she has cerebral palsy. It is important to note that inclusive education calls for teachers to modify the environment to provide access to all learners. As stated by the Zwara, is an anxious, select mute. She has a good understanding of content but needs communication modification and routine to be successful. Ethan has had a recent incident with cyberbullying and needs focused behavioral intervention. Sportive and resortive responses are the key elements to the national framework for addressing bullying in Australian schools. When embarrassing publicly, there is an escalation risk for Ryan that they need to provide proactive support to. Planning based on the Australian Student Wellbeing Framework, which underpins safe and inclusive school. The NSW school behavior policy also states that the teacher's focus is on preventing, including, and supporting positive behavior rather than punishing behavior. Universal Tier 1 sports encompass the implementation of clear routine, explicit visual instruction, and culturally responsive teaching practices to promote inclusive and effective learning environments. My third slide is about the lesson design and explicit instructions. The aim of this lesson is to recognize and describe the persuasive tactics in advertisement. Students will be modeled by the teacher and then practice the skill themselves. This is based on explicit teaching principle that has recommended and which it suggests will enhance the understanding and minimize cognitive load. Model and guide practice. A predictable entry routine and review activity are followed at the start of the lesson. Zara has routine that are predictable. This is especially important as it lessens the anxiety and boosts confidence. Structured routine are a way to create safe and supportive learning environments as described by Richardson. Student will then be given analysis and assignments to do that will be guided and independent. I will check for students' understanding during the lesson via questioning, observation, and student work products. My next slide will be about the student adjustments and the inclusive practice. The lesson the lesson is applicable to MTSS Tier 1, 2, 3. In Tier 1, all students receive clear learning goals, explicit instructions, consistent procedures, and are positively reinforced. These practices have been identified as key aspects of an effective classroom practice by Center for Education, Statistics and Evaluation. In Tier 2, Ethan is offered some structured participation opportunities in restorative sport. This is because positive relationship enhance engagement and behavior outcomes. Ryan is given movement breaks and private redirection as he is at higher risk of escalating if correcting in public. Amara has environment, instruction, and assessment modification in place at Tier 3 that are based on her IEP. Zara is supported by using written modification and a participation option and predictable transitions. These changes will enable all students to have access to the same learning outcomes but will provide appropriate support for both students. Moving towards next slide, which is about the positive behavior, relationship, and communication. A very important classroom management practice for me is the establishment and maintenance of positive relationships with my students. Evidence shows that a sense of belonging to the teacher positively influences students' behavior, motivation, and belongingness in schools. I will work creatively for these connections by intentionally establishing a climate and culture in my classroom that is supportive and respectful, such that every student feels valued and included. In lessons, specific verbal praise will be used to recognize pupil effort, pupil involvement, and pupil cooperation and pupil respect. Positive reinforcement has been found to boost student re-enlistment of the desired behaviors and continued involvement in learning activities. In addition, I will employ nonverbal management techniques including proximity, visual cues, and subtle reminders to redirect behavior while maintaining student dignity. These strategies are important for Vayan because public correction is a risk factor for behavior deterioration. Individual needs will be catered for in relation to communication with families. Email updates will be sent to Amara's parents on a regular basis about inclusion and classroom modification. Zara's parents will receive information on the children's progress rather than just orally, and there will be a consistent and equal communication with both Ethan's household. A homeschool communication book will support Ryan's mom, further enhancing the partnership that will support students' well-being and positive behavior outcomes. The next slide is about the proactive and inclusive approaches. In this lesson, which is proactive to reduce the likelihood of behavior problems occurring. The Australian Education Research Organization state that early intervention will help children to self-regulate and minimize need for negative discipline. Discuss and remind Ryan of expectation and success criteria for tasks before starting by providing pre-corrections where he is distracted. I will privately redirect him but not publicly correct him. I will use structured activities and make regular checks with Ethan Positive relationships between teachers and students positively impact engagement and low behavioral concerns, as found by Richardson. These are some of the ways that Ethan stays connected and supported. The school's positive behavior for learning policy is woven into the lesson. Students show be kind through respectful conversation, be brave by doing what they find difficult, and be your best by trying hard and persevering. My last slide will be about the contingency reflection. An unexpected change in Zara's routine could lead to anxiety, which may be a challenge that arises during the lesson. I will proactively use strategies to minimize this, including visual schedules, transition warnings, and clear written instructions to give predictability and structure. These sports can help minimize uncertainty and help Zara to prepare for changes to the learning environment. Yet, evidence indicates that anxiety students can suffer from anxiety when the context is new or different, even when they have strategies to cope with it. I would take a different approach to meet her emotional needs if Zara became anxious but keep her involved in learning. I would give her a little time to sort out the pressure for public participation and give her some time to calm and control her response to pressure. I would discuss the issue with her in a discreet way, a sportive tone, and offer other options for her to engage, including working independently with written instructions or modified activities. This will help Zara stay engaged in the class without adding to her stress. The NSW Wellbeing Framework for School supports me to believe that a supportive school environment is essential to fostering well-being, engagement, and success for students. It also captures the importance of positive relationships and belonging in enhancing students' outcome. Staying flexible and responsive will enable me to meet Zara's emotional needs and provide equal access to learning, which will show the adaptive professional judgment and inclusive teaching practice. My next slide represents my references. Thank you so much.